It brings me to tears with how I was in that moment. That was the moment it just went poof. Those that don't know, we are an over 40s dance group of men. Started off as group of dads that get together weekly to dance. What started out as essentially a bit of fun grew into something quite life-changing and instrumental in our lives. I then experienced a shoulder injury. For a good couple of years, I was in daily physical pain, often really quite bad. And without me realising it, it was really wearing me down.
If you're Prime Minister tomorrow, right, where would you start? What would be the first thing that you do to impact this mental health crisis that we're in?
Prime Minister, tomorrow I'll make sure everyone wears boots like that. Because if you're wearing boots like that, you're on fire and you're winning.
I'll tell you what, vote jukebox, vote him, I'm in.
It's our shared responsibility. We talk about reducing male suicide rates. That's only going to happen, I truly believe, if society as a whole normalises these conversations.
I'm on a mission to help the world to see success differently. We're sharing the stories of our guests. I hope to inspire those that listen. This is the Different Hats podcast, produced by H2 Productions. I hope you can join us on this journey.
Need a new van? Why not pop down to Rivervale in Brighton? Explore our range of new and used vans, lovingly prepared and ready to work just as hard as you do. Rivervale, making motoring manageable.
Okay, welcome to another episode of the podcast.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Paul, listen, I've been so excited to have you on, obviously watching what you've done from afar, and then obviously knowing we live near each other in Saltdean and had a lovely coffee down the beach hut, and you shared your story and the amazing work you're doing with Outta Puff Daddies. So look, mate, I'm really keen to talk to you today about masculinity. I want to talk about mental health, talk about joy. I want to explore a question I've wrote down here, not to answer now, but just to sort of think about. But can movement, humour and community unlock conversations that traditional mental health messaging sometimes struggle to reach?
Nice.
We'll have a little think about that, and we'll circle back to it. But there's going to be a lot of men listening right now who look strong maybe on the outside but feel isolated, I guess, on the inside. So I just want to start, as I have with every episode in this new series, just however you sort of landing today, what's going on in life? Where are you? Paul Jukes, are you all right, mate?
Well, thank you for asking. I'm going to be completely honest, because that's what this is about. I'm reckon I'm a 6 or 7 out of 10 at the moment. I'm okay, but I'm not all right. I've got stuff happening in my personal life, family life, which is throwing some challenges in the last couple of weeks. So I'm not going to go into them now, but seeing as you've asked, you've, as we all do, have good weeks and bad weeks. This week's a bit, but yeah, thank you for asking. I'm also having a bad hair day, which, if you're listening to this, is not a problem. If you're watching it,
Mate, listen, welcome tomorrow. I don't have bad hair days, so that's why I'll get some hats. You get a hat to go in afterwards.
Nice.
So we'll leave it at that. Well, mate,
I'm going to throw it back at you. How are you?
Thank you for asking. I I'd say I'm probably more of a 5 at the moment, maybe even to a 4. I'm okay. I've let go of a lot lately.
Mm-hmm.
Beginning part of the year, I started full of optimism, and life has a way of hitting you in the face sometimes and going, don't get out your station, I think is the thing. And I'm really passionate about what I'm doing and leaning into with the You Right Mate campaign and everything around that with the programs we're delivering. But it's slow and letting go of the old. And a lot of my identity, I left the Big Business Breakfast Club last week. So I'm just in the financial pressures that come with that, right? Letting go of a lot of stuff that's brought me income, and I've just gone, right, I'm not doing that anymore because it's not focused on the mission and really embracing the new. I'm enthused by it all and know it's the right thing, and at the same time feel like squeaky bum time, and you go and trying to navigate the balance.
Yeah, I can relate to that. So, it sounds like when these mics are moved out the way, we might have to have a little bit of a hug. Hug it out. Move that 5 up to a 6, maybe.
We'll go for that. And yours definitely to a 7. Oh, mate, I'm grateful for you answering honestly as well. And I think that's the whole thing with the You All Right, mate. Okay, that's it. And especially with the work you do, I guess, and even with the group, and I guess that's it, right? Actually having real conversations as blokes, we tend to shy away from that sometimes.
That whole narrative is a massive part of my narrative of what I put out, and I have endeavoured to be as honest and open around that question with whoever asks me, whenever they ask me, wherever that might be. And it's incredibly empowering and rewarding at the same time. Can also put some people not everyone knows how to respond. If you're not all right, how do people respond to that? And we can maybe get into that later, because I do talk about that in my talks. I had a work meeting yesterday in my kind of day job. And the call, online started off with the classic, "Hi, are you all right?" And I was honest. I was like, well, I'm not all, fully all right at the moment. And anyway, it was treated with the love and respect and empathy.
Amazing.
Not that I was looking for that. I was just being honest. You've asked me a question, I've given you the answer.
Have you? When did that change? Was you always like that, or has that changed since obviously the work you do and with the Outta Puff Daddies and stuff like that? Is that changed? I know from my point of view, I certainly weren't that. Oh, you all right, mate? Yeah, fine. Super busy. Yeah, fine. Even when things were not fine. But was there a change for you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure we'll go into it, but I describe it as a mental health crisis back in 2018. It was from then moving forwards, and I've learned, evolved, adapted around that narrative as years have gone on. But over the last few years, and I've realised the strength it can provide in regards of both personally and professionally. My day job, at one point I was a partner in a successful branding agency, so therefore I had employees, I had teams. I'm a freelance consultant, so I go into companies or work with companies. Again, I have to manage, lead and guide teams, and answering questions in an authentic manner actually makes you human, builds trust. So therefore, in a professional capacity, in a leadership capacity, suddenly you've got a team that trust you and know you and respect you, as opposed to this sort of hard exterior of I'm in charge and I can beat down walls and do whatever. It's like it's being vulnerable is quite an empowering thing, both for yourself but also those that have asked the question as well. So.
Do you think that, and that I think so much work that so many people are doing within that space is trying to change that narrative around, but it's still really prevalent, right? Like, and even with young boys and men, that vulnerability is still seen as a weakness, right? Where like we know, because we're working in this space, how much of a strength it is, and I'm the same as you. Like I know that by being vulnerable, it's been the way I've built some really real relationships, I guess, and had them real conversations that have helped me navigate challenging times, and hopefully has given someone else the permission to help them through some challenging times as well. But yeah, do you think that is changing, or what's like? What do we need to do to make that the norm?
Well, it's that whole modern masculinity question, isn't it? I suppose it's the so the way I look at it is it is changing, and I mean there's a real elevation to that change in the last couple of years. Things like the amazing drama Adolescence has really helped that bring that into the mainstream. But there's also, like you, me, and the thousands of people out there that are doing so much amazing positive work that's slowly drip feeding in, and I do believe it, but it's too slow for me. But the other thing to bear in mind is, and it's interesting, I reflect on it a lot in regards of modern masculinity. You got millions of years of evolution, right? That you're battling against, and historically, going back, that's where male masculinity came in. It was, you were the hunter, the gatherer, the strength, that had the courage, the protector, and all that sort of thing. And I believe modern masculinity, I think some of the narratives suggest that we're trying to change that. And I don't believe you need to change that. You just need to, that's a very narrow perspective. And actually what we should do is retain that, but just widen the narrative. Like you can be vulnerable and in touch with your emotions and sensitive whilst also being courageous and strong and the protector. Do you know what I mean? So, and I think my concern is some of the narrative is pushing men and masculinity too far to the whole, in their terms, soft narrative. And actually, no, you can still be the dependable, you can still be brave and courageous and strong. And at times you might have to be the one that holds it in, because if everyone is falling apart at the same time, that can be, you need someone. So, but both men and women, it might be that, it doesn't have to always be the man. But the point being is you can still have those moments, but then you need to allow yourself to then also go, okay, I'm also dealing with what you're dealing with. Let's talk about it. Or can you, help me at this time? So I'm just trying to retain, but I see it as it's an evolution, not a revolution of male masculinity.
I love that, and I think you're right. I think it's understanding. You're right, it's understanding that it's not got to be one or the other. I think that's the.
And a lot of narrative is sort of suggests that, which I think creates pushback, which is the battle that we're up against. Because I think you've got some of the archaic narratives will lend itself to saying someone who's maybe in touch with their the soft skills, shall we say, and the vulnerabilities, and might be emotional and cry, whatever. And I don't know. There's some narratives that will go, you're not a real man, and to do that, right? And which is archaic, which we know. So we're trying to change that. But I do think there's the difference between. I agree with what you're saying around the widening of it, going actually just accepting that we can be this person when needed sometimes, but actually allowing ourselves. And I think for me, one of the things I've learned, I think, is trying to give the next generation those skills to be able to do that. Right? 100%.
That's where, for me, I think some of the. I listened to me and you sitting here talking, and as we did down the beach, and where we could be open and honest, and we're in that space, and we've gone down that journey, right? And we're able to do that. But I know that prior to me having my thing, and similar with you in 2018, I guess, just not having them skills of growing up, going up, what does it mean to open up? And I I don't know. I feel like this, and I don't know how to cope with that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I wonder whether, like, I mean, when can we start giving kids these skills? What's the age? Can we go as young? Like, where I'm trying to do it from like year 6 or something. But what do you think around that?
Oh, day one.
Yeah.
But as in, I just think it should be the norm.
Yeah.
I don't think it's for me, I don't believe it's an I mean, yes, it should be in the educational curriculum, yes, in regards of areas around the subject, but just in regards of individual strengths, characteristics, and growing as a human. I believe it's our shared responsibility, and particularly as parents. We talk about this, the narrative around success. I've got 2 kids, they're now 20 and 23. They're beautiful and they're so rounded, and ironically they are sometimes educate me, which is the beautiful thing again about growing up in Brighton, right? The inclusivity, the diversity, etc., that this city offers. But we've by being open and honest as a family, they're just seen that as the norm, so they are the same. So it's not like I've had to sit them down and educate them. It's just how we are.
Yeah, I love that. Mine are only 10, and yet they are still my biggest teachers, right? They sit and they're in touch with their emotion. I shared it the other day. Lucy sat there and she was really upset. She's having a bit of a wobble, and she just sat there and she just looked at me and said, "Daddy, just feel really sad at the moment." And I'm like, okay. That's okay to feel like, talk to me about that. But just to have the language to be able and the confidence, and I was just like, I was just like, quiet. I'm like, okay, it's good, no problem. Let's talk about that. Why are you saying like, and you just explore that. But I said to her, I said, look, I'm 47 and I will still struggle to...
You're not.
Yeah, I know, mate. It's the baseball caps, I'll get away with it. You was going to say 57 then, wasn't it?
I was going to say 27,
We'll
obviously.
go with that, mate, we'll go with that. But yeah, that's and I just love that, and I think you're right. I think if we can, that's what certainly is, like you've done and like I'm trying to do, is just bring them up in an environment where actually feelings are valid, wherever they are, whatever you're feeling, and they can live alongside each other. You can have sadness and anger and joy and be at the same time, right?
Exactly, because you also want the same narrative around, Daddy, I'm feeling so happy at the moment, I'm so excited.
Exactly that.
But
Well, look, you touched on their success, and obviously before we go into like the whole Outta Puff Daddies and the Mental Health Foundation, all this and all your amazing work, let's success, right? It's the question I ask everyone. So what does success look like for you? Like, what is success, if I said it?
There's ever evolving and individual. Success for me, it changes. I mean, day by day, week by week, month by month. In my late teens, 20s, it was as stereotype as you can imagine. I want to be doing this job, earning this money, I want to have these things. It was, for want of a better term, materialistic, etc. But it was also my driver and my goals. And I wouldn't say it was wrong, but I wasn't educated as an individual at that point. I still had a lot to learn. Now, I think success is entirely linked to purpose. So am I growing as an individual? Am I supporting and nurturing and the community around me, whether that be friends, family, work colleagues? Is it aligned to my purpose? I feel like success should be sort of like seasonal in your life, and you should allow it to evolve and adapt. And it's okay 1 minute to go, this is I want to achieve this and do that. But then you've also got to think about what happens after that. So the short answer to your question is I don't believe it should be a destination. For want of a slightly, again, stereotypical term, it should be a journey. It should be seasonal in your life, and you should allow it to adapt and evolve Yeah.
Love that.
I mean, success for some person might literally be getting out of bed in the morning.
But this, what I find interesting about it, and certainly like that realization around success then becoming about purpose, which I'm with you. My journey has taken me to that as well. And you're like, but again, I'm trying to. How do we change that? Because my whole thing is around trying to reframe success. But my question, I guess, is that do we in our early 20s, like or teens, as you mentioned there, do we need that drive and ambition to want these things and strive for it, and that to be the metric of success? And we have to go on a journey to get to the point we're at now. Or can we teach people that actually the real success is finding that purpose or something that lights you up, that isn't the material stuff is not going to bring you joy and happiness necessarily, or you're going to climb to the top of a mountain and it's potentially not going to be what you believe it's going to be.
Yeah.
And it's got to become intrinsic, as I suppose external is what I'm trying to get at. Is that something, again, we can teach people at a young age so they don't have to go on this journey? Or do you think we need to go on the journey to find it? Sorry, 10 questions in one there, but there you go.
There's a lot for me to try and unpack there.
Sorry, mate. That's just me not asking a question and just blurting a load of stuff out. But we'll go with it.
So what's the question? Look, I think it's good to teach it. I think it's good to have an awareness of if this is your personal definition of success, that's great because it's yours, it's individual. But there's a narrative around what happens when you reach that point. If it's a goal or a thing or an objective, like what happens next? And that's why I'm saying it evolves and adapts, right? Because I've had those like materialistic goals. I'm going to put myself out there and said I wanted a Porsche 911 at one point, and I worked blooming hard, and I got one. But and I loved it for the few years I had it, and then actually my goals and ambitions and defining success changed. So I sold it, and I don't miss it. I still love them as cars, but I don't miss it. But that moment in time was that. But actually the irony was by selling it, it gave me the financial freedom to go on and do something else and a new purpose and a new narrative around success. So I think it's, the point being is it has to evolve and adapt, I believe. And you can. And the other thing about when you link it to goals, I suppose, is I'm a big advocate of having goals and objectives and missions and working towards that. Because I've seen time and time again with others and in myself that I actually don't reach that goal, but along the way there's these sliding doors moments where I take a different path. I end up with a completely different goal and a different journey and a different definition of success that I hadn't even begun to foresee. I could never have foreseen, not even what I'm doing now and where I live and every aspect of my life. I could not have seen that 2-3 years ago. And yet there's so many positives around it. But I only got to this point because I had certain goals of success 2-3 years ago. And I've not reached those goals, but I've gone down paths. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
I really do. Yeah. I guess it's being, I guess what comes from that is self-awareness, right?
Yeah.
Like having the self-awareness to be able to adapt and pivot. I really resonate with that so much. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, I've been recording some solo episode called The Journal, like basically just updating people every week on what I've done to move the You're Right Mate movement forward, right? Yeah. And it's been really interesting to do and to reflect on. One of the things I mentioned in this week's episode was that, like, if you had spoke to me 25 years ago, was working as an admin guy in a law firm like, up in London. Like, if you had said I'd be hosting a podcast, running events, trying to reduce male suicide, I'd have thought you'd been sniffing the Bostic or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
But it's you're right. I think and one of the things that come out of the 100th episode was this collective definition of success, which was similar to what you're saying, like the ongoing pursuit. Right? It's the ongoing pursuit of, because maybe we're never actually really going to get there. And there's milestones and there's goals that you set yourself and you might achieve them and you tick it off and that's a thing. But actually everyone who's sat opposite me, whether they've been Olympic champions, World Cup winners, whatever it is, will tell you that you'll get to that goal and that element will last for about 30 seconds and then it's going to be a downward spiral after that because you've set yourself that target. So there's still, I think there's still something of course you want, I'm really conscious of the narrative that I want to promote, like, especially with my kids, like dream big, right? Go and follow your dreams, do whatever you want, be ambitious. Like we're sitting opposite each other today and you saying like obviously setting goals and stuff and you had certain milestones that you hit or whatever, but actually your driver now is something bigger than that, right?
Yeah.
And that's what will get you up and keep you going.
And it's multi-layered. There's so many facets to it as well, because like particularly as a parent, you've got success in regards of bringing your kids up and helping them and taking them on a path. And my kids, we've just hit empty nest. Yeah, wow. Right? So my daughters are away at uni and my son's now living in London, and that's all happened since the new year. Now,
how's that?
It's so mixed emotions because again, success-wise, I'm so immensely proud of what they're doing and what they're achieving, and I'm proud of us as parents to have supported them and enabled them in so many different ways to do that. So that's success, right? But then we've kind of got that was also a huge purpose in our life. And now that purpose, we will always be their parents, obviously, but we're now not parenting on a day-to-day, hour-by-hour level as we were before. So it shifts and changes, and and I've got certain like goals and aspirations that kind of sit here that I'm working towards, and if I achieve them, I'll be like unbelievably proud and happy of myself. But if they don't happen, it doesn't matter. Like, they're just taking me on a certain path. And so at the moment, I've got, you could probably say I've probably got 10 different things that fall into success category that are all working on nurturing away. Like a cobweb of like narratives and success definitions, and they're all going to take me on a path and a journey. And like you with your path now, and how we opened up with where you're at, and that you've left the networking group, and your mission and purpose is to develop the narrative around your right mate and the work you're doing in schools. And that's something to be immensely proud of. That success in itself, the fact that you've stepped away from something and you've taken that brave, courageous, scary move to do something else. So that's success, but it's success that comes with worries and challenges and stresses. And so it's like
it's about, I guess one of the things that again that will come out the 100th episode was balance, was another one of the pillars, right? And it is just trying to get that balance right in life, which we're always going to struggle with. It's always going to, again, an ongoing thing to do that. And I just want to tell, I guess I wonder how many people listening and thinking like, around, like you talk about the empty nest thing, and what comes out for me there is around identity. I remember listening to Dr. Rangan Chatterjee talking about it in regards to our identity, how we show up. So, whether you put that as a title for your career, and you maybe put it as a parent, so I'm a father, but if we attach our identity to those things, what happens then when we don't? Like, I'm a podcaster. What happens when I stop doing that then? Do I lose my identity? When like you said, you're never going to stop being a parent, right? But you stop parenting potentially to a degree when they move out. So whereas if your identity is wrapped up in that, again, do you feel that loss of identity? And I guess one thing for me that I'm keen to get your your thoughts on it is, again, this is something we're trying to teach kids again around values, right? If we can identify values as a person, this is my identity is wrapped up in my values. So then I can associate those values with whatever I'm doing, right? And it's not then wrapped up in something else. I wonder what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's kind of linked to the fact that they're now doing what they're doing. That's all linked in values, purpose, etc. But yeah, I haven't stopped parenting. You know what I mean? We're like almost checking in on them every other day. I'm now being slightly annoying. Like, hey, how you doing, guys? In our group family chat and all this sort of thing. You know, what are you doing today? It's like, but it's like really early days. You know, I've heard about empty nest syndrome before. Sure. I've never experienced it until right now. But I mean, you know, there's the positives outweigh the negatives to a degree. But I do it all the time. I self-reflect. I look back at when they were like 3, 4, 5 years old, and I even said it to my wife last night. I was like, she said something, and I was like, oh, don't. I was like, oh God, I really miss when we were in our 20s, and I'm 51, and that's the point where you go, what, 51?
Mate, never.
Yeah.
51?
Thank you. You can cut that, edit that in.
I missed that cue.
Yeah. No, I'm 51.
Mate, never. I thought you said 21. That's why I didn't say anything.
I know, it is amazing, right?
Still got your hair. Yeah. We're going to go with that.
And what was I saying? Yeah, I look back at, and I kind of go, oh, I don't like getting old and aging and the changes and all that sort of thing. But then I also forget the tantrums they had and the sleepless nights and the immense challenges that they threw up at in their sort of adolescent years and their teens and hormones going through the roof and all that sort of, so you know, you kind of you it's easy to block out, isn't it, the stuff that was chaos at that time, and you just look back with this like fluffy, beautiful like memories and stuff. But yeah, they're flying, which is now great, and we're now trying to navigate what that looks like for us. And,
sure.
You know, the house is quieter.
I'm sure. Well, mate, look, I want to go back a little bit before we talk about obviously the Puff Daddies and the stuff and all that. You know, what an amazing thing that you are doing. What was Jukebox? What was he before he was Jukebox? What was Paul? Talk to us about, what do I need to understand about you before the Outta Puff Daddies and that era?
I mean, I grew up in still a loving, beautiful family. We moved quite a few times, born in Bath, lived in Scotland, moved to Surrey, connected with my father's work. I was supported immensely as a child. I was really sporty and active. There was a point in my time where I was kind of playing rugby for my school and local clubs, at the same time fencing for England and sailing for my county, and I was doing all these different things. I just immersed myself in sport, and my parents were amazing. They just took me to everything. Which I definitely has fallen into. You know, similarly with my kids, I want to do something. Yeah, great. Let's work out how we're going to do it. And you know, particularly my son now is a singer-songwriter. He's like doing amazing, and a lot of that has come out of us being supportive parents, which I definitely learnt from my parents. So yeah, it's interesting because my life and my upbringing was immensely positive, which is kind of how I open up my talk. Actually, I talk about all the amazing positive things in my life, and yet at the same time, this was the guy that then went through a mental health crisis. So you can have all this, you know, it's the Instagram versus reality kind of stuff. And I was diagnosed dyslexic quite a young age, so that was interesting. Again, this is probably relevant to my story as we move on. But I was the cheeky chappy, so I was not academic in school. And I think, obviously, because of my dyslexia, I now question whether there's other neurodiversities in there. But it doesn't. I'm cool with it. I'm fine with it because I am who I am, and I embrace all my characteristics, and they kind of fire my creativity. So it's very creative. I went to art college. So yeah, it was all good. I was very much supported in what I wanted to do and what I wanted to be.
Well, I'm keen then to talk about, if you can, leading up to, obviously, you've alluded a couple of times to obviously like a what you referred to as like a mental health crisis, I guess, for you, and some of the challenges you face then with that. Like, so many people, I guess, will listen to this and relate to that, in the sense that you go, and I've had people on who go, just feel like you're going a long life in a, like you said, positive upbringing. I was the same, and you go through these things and you go, I just wasn't prepared, I didn't see that coming, maybe, and just sort of sharing, I guess, leading up to that, and then the turning point for you, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting because I don't want to be, like, I didn't, I suppose, talk openly as a child, but then I wasn't told not to either. Do you know what I mean? It just, I don't know, it was just how things were, and that's what's beautiful about around the narrative and everything we're doing now. But do you want me to, like, go into my
if you can, if you're happy to share whatever you part of your story.
I mean, fast forward, I had I was already in the crew. I was already kind of dancing. The crew was formed in 2012, and we were we were taking our kids to local street dance classes, Brighton-based company called Street Funk, and their dance teacher, a local guy, amazing guy called JP Amari, he ran an annual showcase every year for our kids to perform at this at their dance, and at the Brighton Dome, so not like a little church hall in front of like 50 parents, it's like 2,000 people. And one year, one of the dads said to him, wouldn't it be great if we put a dad's crew together? And so that's what JP did. And he put the word out. A group of us who were just basically dad taxiing our kids backwards and forwards to street dance, who maybe just saw each other in the corridor or didn't really know each other, turned up one Sunday morning to our first kind of dance experience, essentially non-dancers. That's the irony in kind of what I do now, is I will quite happily now stand on a stage in front of a few thousand people and dance a choreographed routine. And yet at the same time, if you take me to a house party, I'm quite reserved and introverted. Really? I'm not the first on the dance floor. Everything has to be. So, I wouldn't call myself a natural dancer. It's something that I've kind of learned and evolved, adapted, and it's the strength in numbers. I'll perform with my crew, but on an individual basis, it's different. And we started rehearsing, but the great thing was we rehearsed in private, in silence and secret. So some of our partners didn't know we were doing it, but certainly all of our kids didn't know we were doing it. And the annual showcase came about, and the announcement went out, and now we've got surprise act coming on stage. Welcome the Outta Puff Daddies. And we walked on stage, and you could just sense that it was like, whoa. Oh. And they were like tapping, that's your dad. Right? And it was like, what is going on? And the whole vibe of the dome was like, and then we started performing. And the joy that we were expressing and the fun that we were having clearly came across. And that mood changed instantly, and the joy and the reaction was incredible. And it was just, ovation at the end that literally took the roof off the dome, that adrenaline rush. We'd been rehearsing for 3-4 months secretly, was like immense. And that 2.5-3 minute routine, whatever it was, just went in a split second, and we wanted to do it again. So that's what we did. We carried on meeting up every week thereafter, and we went on to perform at the annual showcase every year. And what JP was brilliant about was nurturing and developing our brotherhood. From day one, we were calling each other brothers. We were socializing together and creating these real friendships, and these bonds were forming from essentially dance, and the joy that it was bringing us, and the fun and the camaraderie and that kind of shared experience of working towards something together. So that was in 2012, and we went on to do that for years, and then I experienced a shoulder injury. So my crisis kind of happened in 2018, but I think I had the shoulder injury for a couple of years before. And the shoulder injury was, as I explained earlier, I was a really active, love sport, love fitness. That was my kind of wellness thing, which is why I love the dance as well, because it just embodied everything. And suddenly that was starting to be taken away from me, because everything I did was painful. I went to doctors, consultants, got to the point of having surgery, quite evasive, painful surgery. I was taking regular painkillers, a lot of painkillers, and the pain was excruciating at times and often. Sleeping was tough. It was bad. I didn't, for a good couple of years, I was in daily physical pain, often really quite bad. And without me realizing it, it was really wearing me down. And again, I'm going to refer back to me being the cheeky chappy at school. That's how I was in the dance studio or around my friends and stuff. I was jukebox. I enjoyed being the joker, the clown, the funny guy. It's not something I do. It's just who I am. And I didn't want, when people said, as you opened up this conversation, "You all right, mate?" At that point, I'd be like, yeah, all good, thanks. Yeah, all right, let's get to it. But inside, I was really having to take deep breaths. It reached a point over 2 years where I remember one time I was curled up on my bedroom floor at home, just crying uncontrollably. No one knew that's how I was feeling. Not my wife, not my family, not my best friends. I was falling into a really, really dark space. I look back at it now with a rational, why did this happen? I've analysed it in so many different ways. But at the time, I was having the most irrational thoughts, but they were so real to me, and they were rational at that time, and they were dark, they were challenging, they were, I was losing my self-worth, my self-value. I was in just this constant mental and physical pain. And it built up, and one day we were on this holiday in Turkey, in this beautiful resort, like 5-star, on the outside, life couldn't have been more perfect. But I've been carrying this sort of burden, this pain for ages. And I had become more snappy and argumentative, and I didn't like that in myself. It was changing my characteristic of who I was. I wasn't like that with anyone else. I was with those closest to me. I was like that with my wife and my kids, and I didn't like that. And yet I couldn't stop it from happening. And there was this time on holiday where I snapped, and I was really horrible and nasty to my wife. And yeah, we talk about it now, and it brings me to tears with how I was in that moment. And but that was the moment it just went poof, and I suppose that it burst, and I let it all out. I recognized, like, mate, you were horrible then. Why did you react like that? And it was like I tell you what, I was literally, it was like, the evening disco at this resort, and I was dancing, and she made a comment about my dancing, and it was a fun, nice, like funny comment, and I should have responded to it and laughed, and I didn't. I took it like really, like I was like deeply offended and hurt by it, and I snapped and responded, and it was horrible. But I then burst into tears, and that was just this immense sense of relief. And at that point, I started like talking and sharing the burden and the pain and how I was feeling, etc., both with them and my kids over that holiday and the weeks and months that followed. And that moved into the crew and this group of men, and I felt comfortable saying, guys, this is what I've been dealing with, this is what's happening to me at the moment. I need to share with you. And the more I spoke and the more I shared, it was amazing. The burden and the pain, the physical pain remained, but the mental pain around it just began to lighten and free up. And that's why when people say it's so powerful to talk, I don't think a lot of people dismiss it and go, well, how can talking make you feel better when you're dealing with this, or you've got that physical pain? It doesn't make the pain go away. But wow, it really did. And and it saved me. It really did. And it saved my relationship, and it's I now, you earlier on, you asked me how was that, when did it start, me talking openly, and how's that evolved? Well, I kind of almost feel like I started again at that point, and I became a better husband, a better friend, a better dad. And I regret not talking earlier, because I really regret how I was in certain times with certain people, the people that were closest to me and loved me the most. It was a dark and challenging time, but that's the whole, you come back to purpose and success, and the irony is, through the darkest, most horrible time of my life that I've experienced, I've come out as a better person, and I'm more rounded and more empathetic and more caring and more trusted. And it's like, it's that kind of whole weird moment, isn't it? How these things change you and evolve you and adapt to you.
Mate, thank you for sharing that. I guess, and obviously I resonate, and I'm sure there's a lot of people listening there. And I guess one of the reasons I'm so keen to have these conversations is the word that always comes to mind when someone is brave enough to share, what they've been through, that someone listening, that word hope comes to mind, just to give someone that little bit of hope that, if you're feeling it, people listening and feeling in a dark space, and listening to the transition and how you've come out the other side and where you are now, and I'm sure, like me, still challenges and stuff that we face, right?
Oh yeah.
But hopefully not to get to that place again, because we've got some skills maybe, or we've learned to open up a little bit more and talk and surround ourselves with the right people. I guess one thing I'm keen to understand, and like, what do you think stopped you from talking? What was the barrier for you to not open up earlier? Or
well, the irony is, I think it was the stereotypical masculinity thing that we're now trying to change the narrative around. You know, I don't know if it wasn't a conscious thing. I didn't ever say to myself, you can't share this because you've got to be strong and courageous and be the rock and the dependable one, etc. There was no self-conversation. It's just how I was and what I did. Now I've got, I call it my toolkit. The moment I start to feel any kind of, I start to head down that road at all, out comes the toolkit. And I start, okay, this is what I need to do. I need to message the crew. I need to let them know. I need to speak to my wife and be honest and open with her. I need to tell the kids. Like, I just kind of like boom, 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 boom. And it's like, okay, no. And it's interesting. This is something I'll never know, and I don't think anyone will ever know. But I wonder if there was something neurological within me that was, and it would have come out at some point, at some time, and my physical pain was the thing that triggered it. Maybe it might have been a different, which in itself is trauma. And maybe it might have been a different trauma at a different time that might have triggered it. Because a lot of people have immense physical pain, and they don't go through kind of, they manage it and don't go through what I went through. So it's an interesting kind of narrative, and it's not something that I don't think anyone will ever be able to answer or evolve. And I've got I do it in my talks, I've got a lovely analogy that I do that people kind of go, oh, okay, I get it now. I don't know if I could do it with you.
Yeah.
So if you pick up that glass of water and hold it out in front of you, and it's quite light, right? Like, that's easy to hold out in front of you now, isn't it? Like, if I asked you how heavy it is, it's a achievable weight to carry. So as we sit and chat now, we carry on. Imagine if, like, fast forward 10 minutes from now, an hour from now, that glass of water start to become heavier. Your shoulder's going to start to ache. You're going to get annoyed with that glass of water. Imagine if you're holding that glass of water for a day. You can't put it down for a whole day. That glass of water is now going to consume every single thought in your head. That everything you do will be consumed by holding that glass of water. And yet that glass of water hasn't got any heavier. It's as light as when you first picked it up. But the longer you've held on to it, the heavier it's become. So now you won't have necessarily the capability to put it down yourself. So how would you lighten that load now if you can't put it down yourself?
Paul, help me out.
Exactly. So now you can just you've lightened the load, you've released that tension. This glass of water still remains, and even if I now pass it back to you, because that's the reality, for example, of my shoulder pain, you've had that release and that break, and you can now hold on for it a little bit longer. And then every time the burden lifts again, you ask me to hold it, and slowly, bit by bit, time by time, you won't be picking up that glass anymore.
Love that. Well, God, it's done me a little bit. It's because one thing I want to touch on what you mentioned, and I wonder whether this is something that we related to, but like you say now, you've got this toolkit, because of what you've been through. And I feel a little bit similar. I try and feel like I can tap into that.
You got tears in your eyes, mate.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, mate. You've
didn't want to.
No, honestly, not at all. It's an amazing way to look at it. It's an amazing way to look at it. I love the analogy. It's done me a little bit, but I'm keen to people like maybe that are listening and they haven't got that toolkit.
Yeah.
What can you say to them? Like, how did we? Maybe it's that analogy. What a brilliant way to do it! But it would be the starting point, like that maybe you wish you had known back then that you can go into your toolkit now. Then people that are listening that haven't been through it, this is new to them. This uncomfortable feeling, this darkness. It's the one thing you could say to them to make them maybe help them out of that.
Well, I'm going to shift that a little bit if I may, because it's something that it's a narrative that I'm now pushing at the same time, that in order to encourage someone to talk, and of course a huge amount of messaging going around quite rightly for men and women is to share your emotions, share your feelings, to talk about how you're feeling. Absolutely. But that's not going to happen if you don't have the environment and the community around you to do it. So those environments and the communities and society as a whole has to change and adapt and create the opportunity for that narrative. And as we talk about goals and success, and that's my current mission, is actually the narrative around if you've got problems, please share, talk. That's great. But my toolkit was my community, my people, my support network. If you don't have that toolkit, then you can't talk, you can't share. So what I would say to them is, the simple thing is, I've experienced the power of sharing and talking, and it has saved me, and it's saved my relationship, and it's saved so many aspects about my characteristics. But I only had that because I had the community around me. And it's our shared responsibility. We talk about reducing male suicide rates. That's only going to happen, I truly believe, if society as a whole normalizes these conversations. So more people than not, when they walk into their workplace and they are said, "Hi, morning, you all right?" Most people will go, "Yeah, hi, yeah, good, thanks, yeah, morning," and brush over whatever is happening in their lives. Share, talk, answer the question honestly. Just give it a go. Give it a go and see what happens.
I just wanted to take a moment to talk about one of our sponsors, Nostos, an authentic experience of Greece right here in the heart of Hove. In a world brimming with dining options, finding that one place that captivates your palate and heart isn't always easy. It's about more than food. It's the stories, the ambience, the slice of another world. This is the essence of Nostos, an award-winning Greek restaurant. With traditional recipes passed down through generations, each dish promises a story and a piece of heritage. And Nostos is more than just a restaurant, it's a community contributor. Each dining experience supports initiatives close to their heart, from local charities to cultural events enriching Brighton and Hove's social fabric. They also provide catering services, bringing Greek cuisine to your personal events. For a taste of Greece without leaving town, visit nostos-hove.co.uk. And when you do go, say Sam recommended the feta nests. Oh my God, they are amazing.
Do you think that, because I obviously I agree into the whole "You All Right Mate" campaign and is what it's about, but is it like, 'cause one thing I've definitely recognised, and even from some of the focus groups we've spoke about, is that yes, it's really important to ask that question, right? really important. Checking on people, you all right? And then ask if they're really all right. And then go, but actually, you say to me, no, I'm not all right. Again, if I haven't got the skills to, I don't know what to do with that. And I think that's where I think what you alluded to, maybe some of the work and stuff you do, like trying to create that environment where actually I know how to, and I think, I don't know what your thoughts are, but a lot of things with blokes, we feel like, you tell me you're not all right, I'm going to sort that out then. What do I do? How do I fix this for you, Paul? Like, okay, mate, listen, we're going to go and do this, this, and this. Yeah. And actually, you don't want me to fix it. You just, mate, I just want you to listen to me. Yeah. And I think, again, I keep circling back to kids. I keep circling back to going into like schools and stuff. One of the things we teach is active listening. What does that really mean? Like to really listen to someone. You haven't got to fix it. You haven't got to solve a problem. Just to again, I think back to this toolkit. I think can we give kids these tools at a young age to be able to? Because then we create a society where people have got the ability to be able to listen and hold that space for someone to just share. Because I think that's, I don't know with your experience, but for me, that's where potentially some of the problem lies, is that the person receiving the answer doesn't know how to deal with it. And then we don't know where to go with that, right? And I think that's maybe where the part of the problem, I guess back to your main point, is we need to create more spaces and communities to be able to share that burden, I guess.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think that's where we come back to your earlier comment about the educational part. And I was like, well, just do it. And I think, but actually, yes, educate. I think the key educator bit is the listening part. What if someone does open up, share to you? What if you are in the morning and you're at the, around the coffee pot and your work colleague, you go, hi, morning, you all right? What if they do say, oh, I'm not all right this morning, actually. I'm dealing with this, that and the other at the moment. Oh, sorry about that. Anyway, have a good day. And they move on. It's like, that's the educational bit. What do you do in that moment? And 100%. That's it. That's the bit that is so easy to kind of like implement, is you don't have to really do anything. You just have to empathize and you have to listen. And no one could, even a specialist shoulder surgeon. Now that's not easy to say. Specialist soldier. I said
we'll go with it.
I said soldier then as well. Specialist shoulder surgeon. Yeah.
We'll put that in the notes.
Yeah. So there were some cream crackers in your mouth as well. Even a specialist couldn't fix my shoulder. So in regards of fixing, no one could fix it. Yeah. But the power of a simple, oh, I'm really sorry to hear you going through that. That must be really hard for you. That's massive. That's massive. It is like, bang, boom, you've been heard. You've listened to me. I've shared and you've empathized and understood. And then bang, then of course, depending on who you are, the level of concern, etc., then it's do you check in, do you follow up, etc., like that. So yeah,
I love it. I think there's so much, and I think, like I say, the more people like us that are peddling that message, the more we get it out, the more we can spread that word to people to be able to go, you haven't got to take a burden on. You haven't got to because that's what stops people. Again, from the space I've done in this work, and I maybe share similar, but like the reason people don't open up is because they feel like they have a burden. If we're giving people then skills to listen, so it becomes less of a burden, you haven't got to take on that burden. Because ultimately, sometimes people just, as you just mentioned there, right, just want to be seen and heard. That's it. The end. I don't need anything. I just want to offload a little bit. And by doing that, I look back to that brilliant analogy that is going to stay with me for a long time, right? But I'm just going to take that water for a little while. Yeah. I'll put that down for you, and then I'll give it back to you in a bit. Yeah. But just know that when that's getting a bit tired, I can't take it off you.
Yeah, exactly. When you're in that workplace morning catch up and you're around the coffee thing, yeah, exactly. It's let me just hold that for you. and you tell me how you are, and then I'm going to pass it back to you. But then later on in the day, I'm going to come up and I'm just going to take it off you again. That's, it's, and I think it's also really important. There's a big distinction between, poor mental health and serious mental health illness. Do you know what I mean? And there are situations where talking and listening alone will not resolve how someone is. And of course, professional and medical intervention is required. But I can't remember the statistic, but in regards of male suicide, it's crazy high within those suicide rates, how many are non-diagnosed. And so of course
two-thirds.
Exactly, yeah. So it raises the question, did they have were they in a crisis moment that could have been potentially diverted, supported and resolved, or did they have mental health illness that, and I suspect a lot of it could have been resolved and supported.
I think what I did the assist training, suicide prevention training, which was incredible. 2-day program with Rose Hawkins and Nick, who were amazing. And one of the big things there was around that was actually when people are in that real crisis mode, how the ultimate goal isn't, we can't stop people from doing something, but the goal that we can do is just, how can we keep you safe? If we ask that question, if someone's, feeling like that and, feel like they don't want to be here anymore, what can we do now to keep you safe, even if it's safe for an hour or till tomorrow? And that is enough sometimes to just change that narrative and give them the space to be able to, and because ultimately we can't save it, but if we can just, and it's about normalising, back to what you've been saying, normalising conversations around this, normalising conversations around suicide itself.
Totally.
And I think if we create that space that we're able to do that, then that's where we can start to have an impact.
Yeah. And again, it's crazy how powerful that can be. So I've got, I'm not saying this to blow my own trumpet or anything like that, but I've been told directly by a friend that I saved their life, and that was talking, listening, and an occasional WhatsApp check-in. Like, that's just like, I reflect on that sometimes, and in my talks I go into more depth about it, and I get really quite emotional about it. But then at the same time, it's like everyone in this room that I'm speaking to now, we can all do that. And it comes back to, what can we do? We're leading in this narrative, and the good thing is others will follow. And then the more that do that, the more it goes out and out and out. And that's how we
Change society.
It's how we change society. It's how cultural change doesn't come from awareness. Cultural change comes from action. So, we'll come onto it in a bit, but our social media, my social media presence now with the Outta Puff Daddies is vast. And that's a message we're like massively pushing. Like if all of our audience here, if you just take these kind of skills on board, because I provide, strategies and educational pieces that I've learned over the years, I share those. If everyone takes these on board, this is like massive. You're now directly impacting someone else's life, because the whole lead and others will follow thing is, because of what I do, I become a natural magnet, obviously, for people. That it's that whole community and normalizing and safe space thing. I become a magnet for people to share with me, which at times is challenging because I've got all kinds of. But again, I now have strategies in place to offload and share that with other people. But this one individual came to me because they're like, Paul, they obviously know what I do and the message I share, and so they felt safe to open up to me. And so I was just there. I just listened, and I would knock on his door and would go for a walk and a coffee. And sometimes it would we almost wouldn't say anything. Sometimes I would knock on his door with 2 coffee cups and he wouldn't come. But it didn't matter, because just simply knocking on the door and me going, "Hi mate, I'm just going for a walk, trying to come." No, I can't at the moment. I'm not. I'd love to talk, but I'm not in the right headspace. That kind of response. But even though he didn't come, he knew that I knocked on the door, and I hadn't fully appreciated where he was at. And I hadn't asked that direct question that, are you considering suicide? Are you considering taking your own life? I hadn't directly asked that because I hadn't felt it was to that level. Anyway, it turns out it was. And a few months later, he said, "Paul, do you know you saved my life?" I was like, "What do you mean?" And it was showing that I cared, being there, checking in, him feeling heard, etc. And again, this is someone that comes from a loving, supporting background with friends and family, a positive life in so many ways, and yet he was still going through this. And so it just shows that if we all do it, it's like amazing the ripple effect it could have.
That's the thing, is the ripple, isn't it? And I think the brilliant message there for me is that, and hence one of the reasons, like every Monday I post that thing just to get people to check in, and the message I've been putting out lately is that, like, just check in with no expectation of response, right? Like, even if it's not just you, all right, mate, just, I'm thinking of you today, mate. Paul, I love you. Been thinking about you lately, mate. Love you. That's it. Something like that. Just like you standing there with a coffee, right, and leaving that. No problem. There you go. Just to know, because again, back to that word hope, right? Yeah. Just give someone that little. Someone shared with me recently, Charlotte Riggs. She come on, performance psychologist, and she was talking about glimmers. Just every day trying to find a glimmer. When you're in a really dark space, it's hard to see them glimmers, right? But that message from you, that coffee, that walk, something was maybe just enough of a glimmer, again, back to keeping someone safe for a period of time without actually asking the questions you did, but just giving someone that hope and those little glimmers enough to keep them safe and alive for a bit longer is, and like you said, if we all looked at that through that lens and all tried to do our little bit every day, once a week, whenever it is, maybe we start to make a difference.
And then that helps us as individuals as well, because again, I believe, because of what I'm doing, it's sort of almost, it's educated and others and it's lovely. I now get check-ins from people that I'm convinced a few years ago wouldn't have checked in on me, but they've kind of gone, oh, okay, this is how it works, and it's like, and it's great. It's like, it's powerful, and it's simple at the same time.
I love that, because I said this, someone said to me a little while back, I've seen that, you're right, mate, so how successful has that been? And I'm like, well, how do you measure success, right? my obvious response. And I'm like, well, it hasn't gone viral, I haven't reached millions of people, but you know what? Every week someone messages me, "You all right, mate?" Yeah. And because they've messaged me knowing that, and even it's just helping me, right? And that enables me to then go and help someone, then maybe that's success. It's right, you know what I mean? I just think there's something in that. But yeah, mate, it's so beautiful to talk to you, because there's so much alignment with so many, and your story and the power of the stuff that you're doing. But I'm keen to explore with you sort of stepping forward as the leader for Outta Puff Daddies as well. Talk to us about what made you step forward as that after.
Well, so 2018 was my kind of breaking point, I suppose. I don't know if you remember, but there was this thing called the global pandemic in 2019, 2020.
Remind me of that. Yeah.
Did you hear about it?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Something's ringing a bell.
Didn't it ironically start in Hove or something like that? But anyway, so 2020, of course, our ability as a crew to dance together, to be together on a weekly basis, as with everyone's lives, was taken away. We were all facing our own challenges and sort of tragedies at that time. And our original founder and crew leader decided that was the moment to kind of step away. None of us knew what the future held and that kind of thing. So, but I literally could not comprehend not having this in my life. It was so powerful and important to me, having a group of men, my wellness tribe, my community, whatever you want to call it, but having this force of love, joy, and humanity kind of in my life. And fun. Do you know what I mean? I was mentioning joy, but it's just, there's the serious side to it, and then it's just it's just bloody good fun. I couldn't imagine not having it in my life, and I was kind of always like up the front. I was one of the sort of co-leaders, I suppose, and very kind of, again, it stems back to me being jukebox, a cheeky chappy, and kind of wanting to be kind of the joker, and I was always up there. So it was natural as far as who was in the crew for me to be the one that stepped forward and led it. I'd never done anything. I'd been in the crew. I'd certainly never come up with choreography. And anyway, so those that don't know, we are an over 40s dance group of men. Started off as group of dads that get together weekly to dance, and we share those routines on social media now, and it's grown, as we come onto, into something really quite powerful and big. But kind of what started out as essentially a bit of fun grew into something quite life-changing and instrumental in our lives. And so I took over the leadership role during the lockdown. I was like, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to create choreography and lead this? I've never done anything like it before. The guys were amazingly supportive. Like, mate, we're with you. We don't want this to end either. And we just found a way, and I found a way, and we started dancing on Zoom every week. And but then there's, within the crews, different professions, and we've got a chef in the crew. So some weeks we actually didn't dance. He would do online cookery courses. He'd like message us the ingredients to go and buy, and then we'd all cook this meal at the same time on Zoom. And we were just being as inventive as we could in regards of retaining our community. And it was 1 hour in the week where we got to forget the challenges and the stresses and the stuff that was happening around us all, globally. And that was really powerful. And I think that moment grew us even closer together. And then, of course, the moment we could move out and we could start being in open spaces and these rules that we all remember, and groups of 6. So there's 12 of us at that time. So we could have 2 groups of 6. So we would literally meet in home base car park in Hove, at like opposite ends of the car park. And I would be like almost like leading and choreographing what we were doing. And it was initially doing fun. I used all the little trends that were happening on TikTok as my kind of learning as to, okay, I think I could learn that. I think I could teach that to the guys. And it was actually my daughter who suggested it. She's like, Dad, you should guys get on TikTok. You absolutely kill it. I was like, okay. And so we started putting out these routines that we're doing, and it started to take off, and the response was massive, and within a short space of time, hundreds of thousands of views, then millions of views, hundreds of followers, thousands of followers, tens of thousands of followers. And I was like, okay, this is something we hadn't quite planned or foreseen. We're more than just a bunch of dads that dance every week, and by this point we could move into the studio and rules have relaxed. I was like, I need to share my journey, I need to share my story, I need to share our experiences, and I need to share how powerful this whole narrative is, how powerful talking is, how powerful listening is, how powerful a sense of community and a sense of belonging is. And so around the fun dance routines, I started to share strategies and stories, and you could try this and you could do that. And what if someone opens up to you? This is how you manage it. You don't try and fix them, just listen to them, etc. I started to share all that. And that kind of like mix of real life, authentic content that was shaping and nurturing our wellness, combined with joyful, fun, silly dance routines, that just hit it off, and now it started to grow like crazy. And it's now a part-time, full-time passion for me, and the response has been phenomenal. We fast forward to now, 6 years later since I started that whole shift and change of who we were as a crew and what our message was. Our content last year had 40 million views.
Wow.
We've got over 600,000 followers on Instagram. Our content reaches minimum 2 million accounts every month. It's more from 3.5, 4 million. And what's beautiful is around the vanity of views and follows and likes, what I actually look for is the impact being made. And you can imagine with that following the amount of comments
DMs.
and DMs I get, it's a lot. But it's beautiful. It's like really, really lovely. There's not a day goes past when I don't get quite a few, often hundreds of, you guys have inspired me to do this. You guys have made this difference in my life, or people sharing their story, and some really emotional, like, again, they've lost people to suicide, and it was like, if only I had, they'd known this, or if only I'd been able to share that with them, but all really still very positive about what we're doing and how we're, and I'm proud to say that we are not only providing joy and humour and positivity, but we are actively changing and transforming lives for the better. And I'm proud of it. I'm emotional from it. And we talk about success, and for me, it's something that I will, I'm not a huge pat my back on the back kind of guy, but I'm like, do you know what? I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right.
Oh, mate, you're doing more than that. You're doing a lot, like I say, you're saving lives. That's the bottom line, and that's the truth behind it. Above everything else, and like you said, the views and we can talk about Strictly and all the other amazing things that you've gone on to achieve, and all them things that are incredible. But fundamentally, you're saving lives, and that is something. Yeah, you, the crew, everyone should be so proud of, because it's amazing. And when I look at that, every time it stops me in my tracks when I say 84 men die of suicide every single week in the UK. statistic. How can that, the biggest killer in men under, how can that be? And yet there's people like you out there doing that and trying to, and I'm sure that statistic will start to come down because of people like you doing the things that you guys are doing.
Thank you. I hope it does.
Oh, mate.
The sad reality is, in the 6 years that I've been doing this work, is those statistics haven't changed. But yeah, that we've just got to keep pushing, got to keep driving it, and and that's where the views and the follows do come in, because when I talked about if we lead, others will follow. They are now implementing the strategies that we're proposing and suggesting. And
do you think, like, I'm wondering, one of the things that has really come up for me is the joy and the humour that you do bring to it as well, because this is a big subject we're talking about, like suicide, mental health crisis that we're in as a in the world, let alone just the UK, but in the world, right? We're in a crisis. Yet, do you think, like, the humour and the joy just removes a little bit of ego, maybe, from us?
I think it's a real key part of it. Yeah, no, definitely. It breaks down barriers. Definitely, it creates connections. I
think it's like maybe like a doorway to open up. Like that's for you. It was you had your community, your crew that you was able to then open up, but by the fact that you had that initial part of it, that you'd bonded, right? You'd all bonded on a different level through leaving the ego at the front door.
Totally.
We're going to get
we talk about, again, we mention it loads, but again, stereotypical masculinity. It's not, it's not the norm for a bunch of 40, 50-year-old and now in the crew 60-year-old men who have not met each other before to go into a room and dance together. That doesn't generally normally happen. And even just boys and men in dance as a whole, it's still a female dominated thing, dance schools and what have you. So that in itself is quite powerful, because again, that's breaking down barriers. And I mean, in all the beautiful comments that we still get, 1% are toxic and horrible around a group of men dancing together. I'm like, what is your, but it's all right if we're playing football, because that's deemed masculine, but we can't dance together. But again, it's an absolute minority, and wherever possible, I laugh it off and move on. But yeah, because definitely there's strength in the fact that it's not the norm thing to do, breaks down barriers. And honestly, every Wednesday night, you've got to come one night.
Oh, mate.
Every Wednesday night we have it's like belly laughs. And we had I do a lot of press and media, and they often come and film and interview us. And we had the Telegraph last week. I think it's going out. It's been published this week, hopefully. And they said they interviewed me and a few crew members beforehand, and they said, can we just stay and watch what you do? They stayed for the whole session. I was like, yeah, fine. And I thought it was like 10 minutes. Stay for the whole 1 hour session. And they were like, it's like, it's infectious. Like, what you do, we couldn't leave. It was just oozing positivity and joy, and that was so lovely to hear. And that's what we experience every single week.
Mate, 100%. I tell you again, what's really landing for me and what I'm seeking, I think, a little bit. You asked me earlier about how I am and said where I'm sort of feeling, and there's an element of being in this space, which I'm sure you sort of understand. You go, it's deep, right? And this is serious, and we do, like, I'm similar. I get quite a lot of messages or people reach out to me, and you go, and that helps me as well, because then people are checking in on me, so I try and facilitate that. But like, there's an element of me that as similar to you, right? I grew up, I was a bit of a cheeky chappy. I'm the guy in the change room having a bit of banter, and I'm the guy in social media, I'm having, hello, we'll do a little thing, and I'm that guy, right?
Yeah.
So when I was struggling, I struggled with that transition. Like, I still had to be that guy.
Yeah.
And now I'm in this space, and you feel like, because it is deep and it's serious, you got a bit, but actually for me, that I still want to seek that joy in life. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and I think like the thing that you guys do so brilliantly, that's really landing with me at the moment, and something I've been reflecting in my journal this last week, is that like fucking hell, like we're not getting out of this game alive, right? Like whatever for any of us, like. And as much as it's challenging,
Sam, I'm going to live forever.
I'm going to live forever. Yes, we're on it, Oasis. But I'm like, so we're not going to do that. So what? Like, I'm in this space, and it's tough at the moment, and it's a grind. But fucking hell, find the joy, right? Find something, the joy, and back to them glimmers and them things in life, and that's what I think is so magical about just listening to you talk and watching some of the videos you put out, and what you've done as a crew. Like, it is a massive subject, and it's something you're breaking through. But ultimately, there's a life, there's that joy, and there's that hope, and that's what I think is, for me anyway, that's really landing with me. And I was so excited to have you on and share this conversation, because actually just even this conversation, how much it's helping me, and the view through that lens of looking at that, you know what I mean? I think it's you're going to make me go again on my own podcast. My eyes out every 5 minutes, but
the joy comes first.
Yeah,
you know, it's like, the joy. It's what brings the kind of the wellness every week. It's the bit that helps you forget the burdens and challenges that you're carrying. But then through that are the bonds that you then form and the relationships that you develop. But for us, it's a bunch of dads dancing every week, right? So for someone else, I saw a beautiful thing on BBC News this morning about a sewing group, and a beautiful, amazing, brilliant name. They were called So Positive, and it's the same. And they just won a grant from the lottery to expand as a charity and grow. But essentially, it was a group of people that their joy was sewing, and so something that's normally quite, you do in isolation. They came together as a group, and they're sewing individually, but they're sitting side by side, and they're talking and they're sharing and they're laughing and they're building friendships and bonds, and that's their joy. You know what I mean? For someone else, it's gardening, walking, reading. And this all comes back into that whole self-care thing, which again, I am a huge advocate for. I asked the questioning in my talk. I stand in the who's the most important person in your life? Quite often the reply is my kids, my wife, or my dog. And I said, no, you are the most important person in your life, because if you are the best version of you, then all those that rely on you will get the best version of you. And that comes from self-care, finding joy, finding your wellness. So it could be a Zumba class, whatever it is. Like,
so what do you do
find
then?
your group and do something that brings you joy, and find that time. It's so powerful. And like, speak to your partner, give them their time, and you have your time, and balance your diaries. So like, I need to go and do this class. So how are we going to fit that in? And just
because that self, I'm again, something that's I've been challenging myself on a little bit lately is like, I preach a lot about the stuff and that I know works and is really good, and yet actually for myself, catch myself not doing them things, right? So what do you do? Like, you hold this space, you create this amazing community, all of the amazing work that you're doing. But for you, like that self-care stuff, what's some of the things?
I'm lucky because I've got the crew, so every Wednesday night.
So if you've nothing else, you've got that on a Wednesday.
Nothing else, pretty much. I mean, you're probably talking maybe 5 or 6 times a year we don't get together. So pretty much weekly throughout the year we are together. But I also I'll go for a run. I'll go for a walk. Often that walk is with my wife, and living in Saltdean, a walk up on the Ty. And I mean, I'm, as much as I say it could be book club, it could be sewing, I'm also a huge advocate of it being physical. To tie in physical health with the mental part of it. So therefore the walking, the running. I do things in isolation as well. If I don't go for a little 15, 20-minute jog along the seafront at least once a week, even with my crew, then I'm like, again, it's multi-layered, multifaceted,
you want it?
And it's not one thing in isolation. It's just lots of little pockets of joy that all come together to build, and all of this stuff I don't think happens through one big thing. It's lots of individual things all just building and growing and nurturing. And
so I think that's a key message actually for people listening who may be struggling, that they think like, I haven't got it in me to get up and go and do them things. But sometimes it is just like you said. I think that's such a good message. Sometimes just the small things, right?
Yeah,
might just be. Yeah,
and it's tough. Totally. Like I totally empathise that it's all well and good saying go and join a group, but for some people that's terrifying. That's, I mean, to quote someone in our crew, one of the crew members, Michael, crew name is Striptee. We all have crew names. He suffers from anxiety, often daily, often weekly. So for him, the thought of joining, when he first joined, the thought of coming along was terrifying. But he also knows that the best way to manage his anxiety is, as tough as it might be, is to push himself and challenge himself. And he knows he's going to be all right, because it's to the point where he was a friend. I could sense something wasn't right, and I said, you need to come along to crew, mate. He's like, no. And I didn't know he had anxiety, but he was putting barriers up to not come linked to his anxiety. Not knowing us, I just went, but what I did know, I could sense that he needed it. I was like, oh, mate, you haven't got a choice. I'm picking you up Wednesday, 8:00. I was there, I knocked on his door. It's like that cup of coffee thing again. Knocked on his door. He came along. I didn't realise how big a deal that was for him to come. And then bang, he was like, oh, this is the best thing ever. And he's absolute core member of the crew. He's even now moved to Portsmouth, but comes every week to Brighton on an Wednesday evening to dance with us, because it's so important to him. And it's then fed into other areas of his life. So when he's, he talks about driving to work and sometimes not being able to get out of the car to go somewhere that he's very familiar with and people he's very familiar with because of his anxiety. But because of what he's done in other areas of his life, like with the crew and challenging himself, he gets through it and he can do it. And so, it's tough to sometimes do these things, but just give it a go. And you know what? You might go along to a class and you might not enjoy it. Just don't go back. Try something else. And just try these little pockets. And eventually, I believe you'll find your joy in your path. And some people don't know, right? That's a really hard question. It's like, I know I need to do this, but I don't know what it is. And that's something I really empathise with. And but I guess it's if you're seeing something that brings you joy, then maybe that's your thing. Just give it a go and push yourself.
And again, seeking that at the moment and looking. But for me, I think when we met before, I said about hopefully getting back to playing football again this year. It was the one thing in life for me I want a bad player, right? So just give me, I could be on that pitch, and there was something that just, everything felt right. And just the fact that I'm actually going to be able to start playing again in the next few weeks is going to be, I've reached out, even when I was really struggling, when I was at the hair salon, my business manager, I knew I used to play, and I'd stopped playing because I had the salon and he invited, and I wouldn't end up playing in Hazelmere. I used to go on a Tuesday night, drive all the way to Hazelmere from here, just to go and play for an hour with these 40, 50-year-olds and like veterans football. But I'm going to go over and see him again, and just to get playing again, because there's something in it, right, where you just need, and that's what I love about what you've created as well. And it's just because I think as well, what I really took away even from our first conversation at the beach up was that, and what you've just highlighted there, that it's going to be different for everyone. Like again, the masculinity side of it, football fits that stereotype, right? Okay, but actually, just there be something. Not everyone's into football, and you don't have to do that. It's something. We'll be able to find something. Sewing, dancing, whatever it's going to be, right? We'll find something that just and where you don't take maybe things that seriously, and find a little bit of joy in life, because it is a beautiful thing. This thing called life, right? And if we need to try and harness that and find them glimmers and them joys.
Totally. Yeah,
love it. There was one thing I wanted to ask, like, what do you wonder from your point of view as well as maybe some of the crew members, whether they'd be able to answer, but what's harder, dancing publicly or I guess being more emotionally honest privately? What's more challenging?
Do you know what? I actually think because of what we've now developed within the group, the emotional openness is the easy part, which I really love.
Love that.
The thought of getting up on a stage in front of 1,000 people. We've got a gig in 4 weeks' time in Brighton, and for a couple of crew members, it's their first time. You know, that's going to be a big challenge. You know, but they'd be quite happy to share their emotions or feelings with us, and yet, it's the stage thing. But again, this isn't. You know, you won't get this in every. Like you won't get it in a sewing group, right? But for us, that thing of getting on a stage, all the nerves, all the anxieties that revolve around that, all that self-doubt, but the fact you've all worked together and support each other for that moment, that elation and that joy that you experience as a result is like, it's just lasting. Do you know what I mean? It's like a year later, you'll go, oh man, that moment, that was just like, wow. You know, it's kind of, and you kind of, it becomes almost like a little bit of a drug. It becomes addictive, and you want it again and again and again. And so we now, as nerve-wracking as it is, we're just always looking for our next opportunity to perform. We're like, you know, like we did a wedding a couple of years ago, which was hilarious. That was really, again, I'll be like, I can get up on a stage in a venue. That was like really quite a thing. It was like, oh my word, they wanted it. So we acted as surprise. We went to the evening reception, and we were pretending to be guests.
Amazing.
Like mingling around the room.
Amazing.
And then suddenly, DJ started playing our track, and we kind of all come together in the centre of the room. And the audience, the guests were like, what's going on? What's going on? And they kind of formed a natural circle. And we broke out and did a number of routines, and we got the whole room. I don't know how many people there was, but it was a decent amount of people. I don't know, maybe 100, 150 people. Everyone dancing. And that shared kind of like, again, joy was just infectious and amazing. And yet, you know, we were terrified beforehand. We're like, what if they don't get it? What if they don't dance with us? What if they kind of go, who are these guys? Who invited them? It's great. So the short answer is, and the great answer is, we are now very comfortable to say, I'm not okay. In fact, literally walking here today, we've got a dedicated wellness group chat. Message went out. Guys, I need to speak to someone. I just need 5 minutes. Can someone call me? and I got a notification just before I arrived that they'd had a call, quick chat over the phone, message went back up, love hearts, all that sort of stuff. And it was like, so yeah, they were like comfortable just to go, guys, I just need 5 minutes of someone to hear me out. And that was it, done.
Mate, fucking hell. It's just, like, I'll repeat what I said, mate, saving lives. That's what you're doing, mate. It's, mate, look, we're sadly actually we're coming to the end, and I could sit and just chat.
Let's do another one.
I'm in. Let's do a 4-hour one. I'm all over it. I guess look, we share similar views. There's so much alignment. There's similar missions, right? We want to impact that. You're doing amazing things, but if you're Prime Minister tomorrow, right, I'll make you. Jukebox is going to be Prime Minister.
Please don't give me that role.
Where would you start? What would be the first thing that you do to impact this mental health crisis that we're in? What would you do?
Well, I don't want to be Prime Minister. Just putting it out there, right?
Mate, I'd vote for you. I'm in. If we get up and have a little dance, I'm in.
Please, I do know. Well, that is such a huge and wide conversation, because I also think there's so many, it has to be 360. I see so many things being dealt with in isolation, and yet you can see a correlation between all of them, right? There's so many individual crises going on. It doesn't help when the government put out statements that say things like there's an overdiagnosis of mental health or overdiagnosis of neurodiversities. It's like, no, that's the benefits of awareness, right? Awareness just means we're all more aware. These things have most probably, more than likely, always been there. They haven't suddenly started. However, coming back to my 360 thing, there's got to be links, right? There's got to be links in mobile phone use, obesity, ultra-processed food, everything. And that, if I was going to be Prime Minister tomorrow, it'd be like, let's stop looking at everything in isolation and treating things as an individual. And how can we, and don't get me wrong, I don't know what the answer is and how it's managed, but let's just start to think, okay, or maybe that has a link to this, and that's causing this, and vice versa. And so yeah, it just, and strengthening our communities. Community is a word that I think people think is traditionally linked to, you go to a community group as such. Yes, it is. My OPD is a community, but my family is my community, my neighbours are my community, my workplace are my community. It's just society as a whole. We just all need to be more aware, do you know what I mean? And just look after each other and check in and wear T-shirts that say, "Are you all right, mate?" And wear some absolutely banging pair of boots like you got there.
Winning there, where I want to be a little bit taller.
Yeah. So as Prime Minister tomorrow, I'll make sure everyone wears boots like that. Because if you're wearing boots like that,
we're winning.
On fire and you're winning.
I'll tell you what, vote Jukebox. Vote him. I'm in. I'll be your campaign manager.
Yeah.
Mate, wow.
Sounds like I'm trying to change the world, doesn't it? And, I don't know, that'd be nice.
Mate,
I'm just trying to
in some way, right?
I'm just trying to grow and develop as an individual, and if that happens to impact on other people along the way, then that's a great thing, right? And
yeah, you're doing more than that, my friend.
Thank you.
You're creating them ripples that are going far and wide, right? Look, we started with that opening question, right? Can movement, humour and community unlock conversations that traditional mental health messaging struggles to reach? after this conversation, what do you believe the answer is?
No, I don't. No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't find anything in joy, nothing in humour, nothing in dance. No. Yeah, I mean, that just completely embodies everything I do, right? Yeah. It's like 100%. And again, back to traditional masculinity, it's rare for men, like we have just talked for 2 hours eye to eye. That doesn't often happen, and a lot of men are uncomfortable doing that. A lot of people are uncomfortable doing that.
100%.
Side to side relationships, build joy, builds community, builds trust, brings friendship. 100%. Yeah, everyone dance the night away.
Mate, I'm coming down on Wednesday. I'm gonna bust it. I've got a bit in the locker. I'm not gonna lie. But well, look, we've got a closing tradition on this podcast. And I'm going to get you along to one of our top table events, and these are our storytelling cards. So choose a card, any card.
Okay.
Then pass it back to me.
Right.
I'm going to read it out.
Okay, here we go. Oh dear. What's this going to be?
Good one. Who in your life makes you feel seen, and how do they do it?
Wow. Well, my community do. But I mean, when I talk about my close community, so my crew do, they 100% let me feel seen. How do they do it? Everything we've spoken about. They just let me be me without any questions, without any fixing. They celebrate me, my quirks and my characteristics. But I would also say my immediate family and my wife and my kids. I think my wife, she's an incredible woman. She's my soulmate. She's my best mate. To put up with me through my years of challenges and neurodiversities and the times when I was struggling and, as I mentioned earlier, wasn't the best person I could be. To stick with me through that is amazing, and we're now in this new phase of our lives as with empty nesters, and it's exciting. So I owe probably everything to her, and big shout out to Mrs. Jukebox.
Jukebox, what a legend, mate. Thank you for so many things, really. For coming on and being so open and honest and brave. For making me cry a few times. But I guess this has been a bit of a game-changing episode for me. I think just
oh, mate, come here.
Just reminding me.
Come here. Kiss the hug.
It's done me. Just pulled myself together, but just reminding me to see the joy in life, right? And keep seeking that. Keep seeking that, because that's on this journey. It's tough and it's challenging at the minute, but this has been what I've really needed today, even more than probably the listeners. So just to seek that joy. So thank you.
And I want to throw that back at you. So thank you, because what you're doing is amazing. We do a lot of similar stuff, so I totally empathise how sometimes it can be tough, it can be challenging, self-doubt, is it worth it, what difference am I making, all that sort of stuff. If nothing else, it's connected us, do you know what I mean? I didn't know you 6 months ago. I've got a new friend, I've got a new colleague. So
gonna have a new crew member soon. I don't know if I'll dance in these boots though. That's the problem.
So thank you for what you do as well, because everything you said about me, I just bang straight back at you.
Thank you, mate. Well, look, it's been wonderful, and listen, we're going to do a part 2 because we could just carry on, right? This is gold. But listen, keep doing what you're doing. Keep spreading that. Well, keep
there's a lot I haven't told you. I haven't talked about our celebrity followers and all that sort of it's like, that's part 2. Here we go.
We will bring back a part 2. We will bring back a part 2 because there has been loads, but it's been, like I say, hopefully the listeners will have got as much out of it as I have from this episode. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Keep doing what you're doing, mate. And that, as they say, is a wrap.
Oh, nice.